Hey everybody, welcome to week 3 of DigPINS. And this week we're talking about assessment. We've all had a lot of experience over the last year thinking about ways to assess what students know and what kind of progress they're making when we're not face-to-face. We've had, particularly for folks who use a lot of exam-based assessment, we've really talked a lot about moving towards things that are maybe more project-based, more discussion-based, different ways of knowing what students know. And in terms of the pins, it gets us into thoughts about how do we prefer to demonstrate our own knowledge, to understand what other people know, what's legible inside our departments and our disciplines and to people outside colleges and universities. So those are a lot of the things that we're talking about this week. We've got actually kind of a lot of readings, nothing fast synchronous this week, although we do have one of my favorite activities when we'll do some annotation of this week's readings. And I'm going to throw it over to Meha to talk about what some of her favorite readings this week are.
So I have two favorites. One of them is a reading and one of them is not a reading. I'll start with the not reading, which is Alternative Approaches to Grading. This is a video resource where you have about 6 or 7 educators from different places in the world talking about how they do ungrading. So how they do something different than regular grading, but they're all actually quite different from each other. And you'll see like they have different approaches, and we discuss like, oh, would that apply in my class? Would it not apply in my class? And it might be an interesting one for you to see if you've never been exposed to this, to get to see different ways people are doing it. And it's also got some good resources at the bottom that you can follow on and read. The other one that I really like is Andrew Reichardt's Do I Own My Domain If You Grade It? And just so you know, this is a student who was talking about how their teacher gave them what would they call it, a domain of one's own, which is like to have their own blog with their own name on it or something like that, and to call it your own. But if the teacher is grading it, it's kind of, you know, making you question the kinds of assessment decisions you make versus the values that you have behind them. Because sometimes we know what our teaching philosophy and values are, and then to assess the outcome, we go and assess it the regular way. And sometimes maybe you need to assess differently when your values are different from the default. So it'll make you think, and it's a short piece, and it's definitely worth annotating and figuring out what are the highlights for you. Taylor.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the annotation aspect of the readings this week a little bit and kind of show everybody kind of how that's going to look if you've never used this tool before. It's called Hypothesis. So basically, if you go to the content for the week on your cohort website, there's the link for the reading, and then next to that we have the hypothesis link. So if you click on that, it will actually take you to a version of that reading with annotations enabled for you, basically. So if you've never used Hypothesis before, you will have to sign up for an account. So if you go to this page, you'll see a little sign up link in the top right. It's pretty, well, I'm still signed in here. But if you go to this page and hit sign up, you know, it's a pretty normal thing. You have to make a username, you give them your email, and you make a password, and then you get an account. But once you've made an account, you can go back here and just hit log in, and then you'll be able to annotate the page as well as see other people's annotations. So in this particular one I picked here, this is one that has been annotated quite a bit in the open already. So you're able to see the highlighted yellow annotations. You can also scroll through on the right side here and see who has annotated what sort of in order, and you can explore that that way. If I go to this article here, this is one that I believe has not been annotated yet in the public. So once you've logged in, all you really need to do to make your own annotations on a page is to highlight a section and hit annotate. And when you do that, you can add a note to that section, and everybody who's using Hypothesis will be able to see that. So I can just add a quick thing here and hit post to public. You can also you could change this to be only me. For the purposes of DigPINS, let's do it in public so we can see people's annotations. But if you wanted to use this tool on your own, you can use only me to just have private annotations. And the other option here, highlight, does what it says. It's going to highlight the text, but you can always make this into a annotation by adding a note to it here so that other people can see it. So that's a real fast rundown on Hypothesis. And if you have any other questions on using it, definitely reach out in Slack or to facilitators, and we can help people with it. It's a great tool, and I think has a lot of different ways to think about using it in terms of in the open, just for yourself, or in small groups. So I'm excited about that part of this week and being able to use that tool.
Do we want people to use the DigPINS hashtag? Might be easier to find stuff.
I find it useful. I mean, personally, I use Hypothesis a lot. And if you get into tagging, you're kind of making your own notebook, your own note cards. So I find tagging just to be a good process in terms of annotating readings so that you can find things again later. And yes, if you use the DigPINS hashtag, it'll make anything you read or anything that you see elsewhere that's relevant to these readings, it'll make them a little more findable for us later. The other thing I might point out is that there is an option to respond to comments. So if what you have is a question, you can post that question and someone else may have an answer for it, or you may have an answer for someone else's question. So it may be useful to use that reply function to make it truly social, to make it a place where we're having a conversation in the margins of these other documents.
Yeah.
Well, great. We're looking forward to it. This is a fun week, and we will see you on Slack, on Twitter, on the blog, and in the margins.
And don't forget to also start thinking about what you want to do in week 4. So don't forget to get into Slack, propose your topics in the week 4 channel. Some people have already started talking about topics of accessibility and well-being and mental health. Let's see if that's like 1 topic or 2 topics or 3 topics or other topics come up. Bye.
Bye.